Joints January Day 2. Today we're going to be focusing on the wrist joint and going through a few low-level controlled articular rotations and positional isometrics. To begin, I want you to take your left hand, grab the top of the right forearm, bend your right elbow to 90 degrees, and then place your palm up. You're not going to squeeze into your fingers. I want you to place most of the tension at the wrist joint. You're going to start by taking the wrist joint into flexion as far as you can. You're then going to rotate inside, pointing the fingers toward the ground as much as you can, or extending the wrist. And notice here how I'm not rotating my forearm. That is why I'm grabbing hold with my left hand to try to facilitate that. If you're finding your forearms rotating over a lot, grab a little bit harder or just slow down the motion. I'm back into the flexed position, going into internal rotation or that inside rotation. Extension as much as I can. Again, trying not to squeeze really hard with my fingers, but it will happen a little bit. From here, we're going to switch directions. I want you to be following along with me, going at the same pace. These shouldn't be rushed. We're trying to go to full range of motion within our circle to create as big of a circle as possible with as much control as possible. So I'm feeling a lot of tension within my wrist, within my hand, even within my forearm. We stop in that fully flexed position. I can let go with my left hand now. And I'm going to hold this fully flexed position, trying to bring my fingers toward my forearm as much as I can. I'm trying to go into that motion at the wrist as much as possible. For 3, 2, now I'm going to extend my wrist as much as possible, either trying to get the fingers toward the floor or pull the fingers back to the top of my forearm. Hold for 3, 2, come back to a more neutral position. I now bend to the inside, my palm's still facing right up. I'm trying to get that pinky finger as close to inside of my forearm as possible. A lot of tension through here. 3, 2, and then I go to that outside rotation. And you'll notice you almost have very little motion here, but you can still feel this whole side of the hand, the thumb joint, into the wrist and the forearm contracting. 3, 2, relax. I now take my right hand, bend my left elbow at 90 degrees, take the right hand and grab the top of the left forearm. And I start in that fully flexed wrist position. Don't be too tight with your fingers or squeeze too hard. I start by rotating inside, making sure that the bottom of my forearm continues to face the roof. I extend my wrist joint as much as possible. I go into that outside rotation, back into that fully flexed position. And I'm trying to control this circle at my wrist joint to the best of my ability. Generally, when we're focusing on a lot of control, we want to slow down the motion. That's not exclusively true, but if we're trying to pick up as much sensation, if we're trying to pick up as much sensation as possible, generally slower is better. And that's what we're going for on these first initial movements. Back into that fully flexed position, one more rep. A lot of tension. You should be trying pretty hard here. Again, when we go into full range of motion, it is quite difficult. There's a lot of tension through the actual joint and then the accompanying tissue surrounding that joint. Hold in that flexed position, and let's try to flex the fingers toward the bottom of that forearm as much as possible. You don't have to grab anymore. 3, 2, now we're going to extend as much as possible, trying to get those fingers to bend back to the top of my forearm. Pulling. 3, 2, go to a neutral position. Rotate to the inside. So I'm trying to bend my little finger to the inside of my forearm. Hold, try to pull a little harder. 3, 2, and now I try to bend my thumb toward the outside of my forearm. There's not a lot of motion here, but we can still feel the contraction running through here, the side of my thumb, of course into that wrist joint still. Hold tight for 3, 2, and that's that.